We got to get to this news coming in. Let's welcome to the show from House Energy and Commerce, Congresswoman and Dr. Mariannette Miller-Meeks. Congresswoman, it's great to have you on. We appreciate you taking the time, given you're dealing with massive flooding in your home state of Iowa. But, Congresswoman, we need your assessment also as a doctor on this new controversy now blowing up. What do you make of this? The media, including at CNN, is now pushing back on lawmakers demanding that President Biden take a drug test before and after the CNN presidential debate to see if Biden is taking any stimulants or drugs. But it looks like this Biden White House, Congresswoman, has so bullied and threatened the media with cutting them off. The media is effectively saying, cover this up, deny and denounce this, keep Americans in the dark about Biden's true condition. You know, this sounds like Biden's version of don't ask, don't tell. We know everything he does is on a teleprompter or scripted. Where do you come down, doctor, on this?
Well, first and foremost, let me say as an ophthalmologist, I deal mostly with elderly patients. Number two, my mother had Alzheimer's and I took care of her for the majority of the last few years of her life. And then number three, I've been to the White House several times for bill signings, and all of us have seen the degradation of President Biden's cognitive facilities. This isn't an age issue. This is cognitive and performative functions. And as we all saw in the State of the Union address, we saw a much different Biden than we'd seen before. And you know, many of the doctors in Congress felt that he was on some type of stimulant, whether it was Ritalin or steroids or something else. He was very amped up, very aggressive, and almost yelling at the time that he was there. It was a campaign speech, not a State of the Union speech. So we anticipate that for this first debate, he will be on something. And the response of the press has been to cover it up. And so we've seen that with Karine Jean-Pierre saying these are deep fakes. This is misinformation. The videos we have seen of President Biden's cognitive decline are not false. They are not, manufactured. They are not deep fakes. The president has significant cognitive decline, as we've all seen. And, both here and abroad and internationally, people are wondering about his cognitive state and the ability. So instead of, they made the decision to go forward with President Biden. Now they're trying to cover up the cognitive decline and just get him through the election.
You're raising important points. The 2020 debate moderated by Chris Wallace was uniformly criticized as a disaster. Wallace not asking tough questions of Biden. So now cover up Biden's condition is, the same as covering up Hunter Biden's laptop. So don't talk about Biden having to be out for a full week at Camp David to focus on trainings to stand up for an hour and a half without a teleprompter, without notes. No notes allowed. Look at USA Today, Congressman is saying, quote, it's up to Biden to prove he's okay. The evidence is there that he's not. So the White House is demanding the American people believe that Joe Biden's decline is a GOP conspiracy. But USA Today says, quote, Americans are not stupid. Polls show voters are concerned about Biden's age and mental decline. Is it up to Biden to prove it?
Absolutely, it's up to President Biden to prove it. In the 2020 election, he could hide in the basement. He's the president of the United States now. He can't hide. They try to, keep him off cameras and off video. They tried to hide him when he was walking to Marine One. But, they're not going to be able to hide this during this debate. And as I said, there were many of us who talked about this when he gave the State of the Union address, that he was obviously on stimulants or something because it wasn't his typical demeanor, his typical, performance. And so we fully expect that they're trying to hide the fact that he has cognitive decline. Again, this is not an age issue. This is a cognitive decline issue. Remember what big deal they made of John McCain and his age? And certainly John McCain at a similar age was he was even younger than President Biden is now, was much better in tune cognitively than President Biden is now. So all of us have seen the cognitive decline. We've seen the shuffling. We've seen the embarrassment at the G7 summit and in Normandy, where he turns away, looks a different way, and then they tried to cover that up by saying he was turning around to look at veterans. We all know that, the appearance was he didn't know where he was or what he was doing. We've seen the hand-holding, significant cognitive decline.
Yeah, and he's done.
You can't hide that anymore.
He's done.
So they don't want us to believe our eyes or our ears. They want us to believe their narrative, which is we're just making this up and it's conspiracy.
And Biden has been
GOP
this
conspiracy.
White House has notably been bullying the media. Joe Biden's team and Joe Biden himself has been bullying the media, trying to shut them down. He's done the least amount of news conferences and interviews than any other president in recent U.S. history. USA Today reported that. He gets notes and cheat sheets. He gets pre-approved names for reporters to call on. Biden's not going to have any of that at the debate. Watch. Also, Trump will get the last word on that CNN debate night. He's going to cap the night with closing arguments. Trump has been doing debate warm-ups, barnstorming the battlegrounds and with rallies. Let's please watch this. Take a listen.
I don't know why we're surprised by Trump. How many times does he have to prove we can't be trusted?
We choose truth over facts.
After I signed the PAC Act into law, I handed the pen that I signed it with, was in addition to the person most responsible for the legislation.
We'll teach Donald Trump a valuable lesson. Don't mess with the women in America unless you want to get the benefit.
Banning books about black experiences. Thanks to all the members of Congress and Homeland Security Secretary. I'm not sure.
Because right now, as you know, it's been reported that right now Crooked Joe's gone to a log cabin to study, prepare. No, he didn't. He's sleeping now. So a little before debate time, he gets a shot in the ass, and that's. They want to strengthen him up. So he comes out. He'll come out. Okay. I say he'll come out all jacked up, right? All jacked up. There's two of us and two of them. It's like death. This could be the most boring, or it could be quite exciting. Who knows?
Final word, Congresswoman. I guess you're saying the president's going to come off as really shouty and aggressive again and amped up like an auctioneer. Final word.
I think that's what's going to happen to the president, but our eyes and our ears cannot be deceived. This President Biden is in severe cognitive decline. I'm looking forward to the debate because I think President Trump is going to be able to do extremely well in this debate.
Congresswoman Miller-Meeks, thanks for joining us. Good to see you.